Well, here's why I opened up the can of worms with Carpenter, because this is what I want to talk about.
Oh, God.
With Carpenter, and then possibly with other people we can think of, because we normally do this kind of thing. I've always thought Carpenter was overrated. I always thought, like most of these horror movie guys that get the tag, Master of Horror, the Master of Terror, and all that kind of stuff, that they haven't necessarily built a career on proving that. They've made one, maybe two movies that have done really well in the genre, and they've been writing that their entire career.
Yeah,
I feel that way about John Carpenter.
John Carpenter has made many, many more In the Mouth of Madness and Village of the Damned and Prince of Darkness and Vampires and Ghosts of Mars than he has The Thing or Halloween. The Christines very much outweigh the Things and the Halloweens in his repertoire. And then there's other stuff that people sort of like, but I think they sort of like it in an ironic way, like Big Trouble in Little China. I think they remember it quite a bit more fondly than it actually is, Well,
I
remember it being a better movie than it is.
Yeah, I like the three he did with Russell, the initial three he did with Russell. I like Dark Star, I like Halloween, I like The Fog. But after Big Trouble in Little China, I like They Live. But after They Live, I got to be honest with you, it's, God, I wrote an article about this actually a couple of years ago. And I said this to a person, and I said, we like, someone asked me, well, who do you like? I go, we used to really like Ridley Scott and John Carpenter, but look what they've been doing, and that was in 1994. Mm-hmm. And I stand by that statement today. While Ridley Scott got better in some ways, Carpenter, I think They Live was the last movie I really got to say that I liked by him.
It's particularly true, even though Carpenter has always fluctuated primarily between horror and sci-fi, but it is primarily true among horror film directors. The overpraise that is not earned. I mean, Romero hasn't deserved the level of, goddom that he's received since, maybe the early 80s, maybe Dawn of the Dead or something.
Day of the Dead may be the last one that you could really... And I don't remember Day of the Dead being received even... But we didn't have the internet back then, but I don't remember Day of the Dead. It's only in hindsight maybe it's respected. But, not even the 80s, maybe the 70s. But I don't know. I like Romero, but let's be honest, he is cannibalizing, no pun intended, his own work. I mean,
yeah, and Tobe Hooper never registered beyond Chainsaw. I mean, he made Poltergeist, but wink, wink. Everybody kind of knows differently.
And it's not. I know it's not a well-received movie. I do like Life Force a lot, but that was '85.
That was summer of '85.
Yeah, and I like that movie a lot, but I know
that we're not covering on the show, but I guess we'll cover it on our roundtable.
No, I just like it. I just thought it was a fascinating film, but that was the last thing. I mean, that and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Okay, I'll even give you that, but after that, I haven't seen what am I supposed to say, The Mangler or whatever?
Yeah, I will not give you Texas Chainsaw 2, and I'm a huge fan of the original.
Just Dennis Hopper. That's the only reason that's why I like that, is just because of Dennis Hopper. Okay.
Yeah, but these guys, what other horror film directors, or can we open it up to other directors?
I think
we haven't talked about Wes Craven yet, so I think we need to hit the brakes on this conversation. I mean, I don't think anyone falls into that category more than Wes Craven. He's the one that's given that.
He sold off
title.
His own work.
He sold off his own work. He's completely fucked out his own work.
Mm-hmm.
Making the whole thing with Scream when it came out. I mean, I'm gonna give him that. Like, he had not made a good movie in a long time when Scream came out. I think the movie he made just prior to that was Vampire in Brooklyn or something like that. And then Scream came out, and it was an interesting sort of new revitalization of the whole teen horror movie thing. And then he continued to just drive it into the ground. I mean, it was embarrassing by the time he made Scream 2. It was even more so by the time he made Scream 3, and now he's going back and sort of I don't know if it's a remake or if it's just another sequel or if it's like a Wes Craven's new Scream or whatever we're going to call it now. But this is just really embarrassing.
Well, he's going back to the site of his last hit.
Yeah, I mean, The first Scream I like. I mean, I do like the first Scream. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen it since I saw it in the theater, but I remember liking that, and I like the New Nightmare, and I like obviously the Serpent and the Rainbow, but I'm talking about that's generations ago with Serpent and the Rainbow.
25 years.
Yeah, I realize that.
And also it's tricky with Wes Craven too, because I always say that his scariest movie, here's another master of horror kind of title that he's given, but his scariest movie actually isn't very artfully done. It's not a very good movie. It's just really effective. I mean, but in terms of craft, and it's very sloppy, but there's just something about it that works even beyond his contribution.
I think to me, his most effective movie is the original Hills Have Eyes. If I was going to pick one,
okay, that's effective. I did rewatch that a couple of years back, and it was effective.
That scared I was talking to our good friend Roland about that, and that's the film. I think that for me at least, that's the film that scared the hell out of me for a number of reasons. But that film, and I didn't need. And I do think the remake is very interesting. That's one of the few times I actually thought the remake actually had something to contribute. But no, the original one that's my favorite movie. I know a lot of people will always gravitate toward Nightmare on Elm Street. I realize, but for me, it's The Hills Have Eyes.
Right.
Well, this sort of brings up an interesting question because these guys give themselves these titles like Master of Horror, and I don't know who officially has that title, whether it's Wes Craven or John Carpenter or whatever. But who would you give it to then? You know, like, is there a director who you would say, like, is it one of those maybe who is the best horror movie director, or do we just sort of not have one? I mean, I think that might be closer to the truth. We just don't.
I think we kind of just not have one.
Yeah,
because
we have guys who have made that their career, but we don't have anyone who's been quite good at it. You know, who's earned the title.
Actually, maybe the guy who made the French director Jacques Tournelles who made the original Cat People, maybe. But I mean, you mean someone alive now, though? Is that what we're talking about, or
someone that made a career of making exceptional,
right,
movies of that genre?
Todd Browning, maybe, or James Whale. I mean, those guys.
Yeah.
Well,
but that's a lie. No, realize that's like almost centuries ago in the way we live now. But I don't know. I don't know if anyone's a master of anything. I think it's so short-sighted in one sense. But there's.
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I think people like Alfred Hitchcock earned the title of the master of suspense.
Yeah, they were. I think Alfred Hitchcock was. You know, I think but if we mean horror and by today's standards, it almost belittles him. If we mean it by like the whole what he.
Well, no. I'm not calling him a master of horror. I'm saying some people have a title like that, like he was the master of suspense. You know.
Yeah.
And, you know, you could say that, you know, like Woody Allen is the master of the intellectual comedy or something like that, you know, like, I don't know what other titles you could come up with. I mean, like, you know, like Steven Spielberg, obviously, I don't know what you would call him. He's clearly the master of something, you know.
He's
like
the master. It's the one lesson of Jaws no one seems to get. Less is more.
Right.
And Jaws is also just on its own. Forget the shark. I mean, it's a great story. It's just a fascinating story. But the thing that thank God the shark Bruce did not work. Thank God.
And just great interaction between characters. I mean, you're interested in these people being thrown together.
I'm so interested in those characters, and that's the thing that people don't learn. I think it was Devin Faraci of Chud wrote an article, What If Jaws Was Made Today? And it would be 2.5 hours long. We'd have all these backstories. We'd see the shark immediately. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And I think Jaws is really the movie that a lot of people have to go back and watch because that's the way it's done.